Riot has just announced their plans for the rework of Chamber in patch 5.12. I'm going to go over the changes and then talk about what it means for Chamber in the meta and how players are going to have to adapt if they want to play him effectively. This is not going to be a video where I overreact to the changes and say he's dead or will never be played again. I'm going to back up my opinions with statistics and the hundreds of hours I've spent playing the agent and analyzing pro gameplay. The first change on the list is the headhunter. The developers have decided to reduce the second bullet accuracy, making spamming the headhunter much less viable. This nerf won't have a big impact on Chamber due to the fact that the headhunter is really only used to shoot after missed op shots or take one shot and TP during save rounds. This is a healthy change to the weapon, putting a bigger emphasis on headshots. The second biggest nerf to Chamber's kit is his Rendevous. They've completely removed Chamber's second TP. Now he only has one TP with a large radius. I say large because it's bigger than before, but Chamber's mobility as agent has been decreased significantly. This singular TP now has no height restrictions, and if destroyed, will not be available for use the rest of the round. Even though I classify this change as a nerf, it's good to keep in mind that this change will make attacking with Chamber a lot easier. The previous problem with Chamber was he couldn't TP places he hasn't been. That means when pushing a site, the only way to TP is if you placed your second one in front of the choke point out in the open. This could easily be broken and did not allow for good post-plant scenarios. Now with just one TP, Chamber will be able to help push on a site with the only restriction being the TP's range. It's important to note that there will be two ways to use this TP while pushing a site. The first one is placing it before your team pushes and helping fight for site safely. The other way would be good if the enemy team is typically playing retake. You would save your TP and place it somewhere on or near site after spike is planted. Saving your TP like this allows you to play aggressive off angles during post plant where you can get one and get out. Having only one TP may decrease his mobility since he can't TP halfway across map, but this does make him more flexible. Since the area he can TP is almost doubled what it used to be, there will be way more opportunities to take fights at different areas of the map that you didn't previously plan on taking. For example, let's check out B side on Fracture. A basic setup with the new Chamber would be having a trip arcade and placing your TP somewhere safe on site. When you're playing this setup, your original goal was to take fights in B main, but you don't see anybody B main and the trip goes off arcade. Chamber is now flexible enough that he can leave B main and fight arcade while still having the ability to TP. Before the rework, Chamber would have to either leave the TP away, or fight multiple angles at once. I think Chamber's increase in flexibility is going to keep him in a high play percentage on certain maps even after the next nerfs I'm going to cover. However, the changes to his TP make it harder to instantly reposition into off angles and limit what setups he can do. Lurking setups are especially going to take a hit to this change because there's no anchor TP to travel back to your teammates. I still believe creative players will excel with Chamber once they get used to his utility and create new setups. The next and biggest nerf in terms of gameplay for Chamber is the trip. The trip now has a range you must be in for it to be active, and you can recall it with the 30-second cooldown. This is a huge nerf that will quite literally make Chamber unplayable for certain maps. Everyone is going to have to completely relearn how to play around their trips. To be successful with this nerf, players have to make a plan about where they want to go every round, then decide on the best trip they can place that keeps them within the range. The way the players use their trips will gradually change. The most likely case on defense is the trips will primarily be used as a point of contact to swing off of, kind of like a killjoy turret. On attack, the typical trips will just have to be moved back, which can give the enemy team a lot more space and make rotating harder. For example, the typical trip on bind is no longer possible, so instead players will have to move the trip either closer to where they're lurking or closer to the site the team is pushing. The trip is less valuable here, but it's the only option you have as Chamber. Overall, this change just limits Chamber's ability to move around the map. Higher ranked players won't be as affected by this change as lower ranked players, due to their communication and understanding of the game. I can only imagine trying to figure out where to place a trip with a team that has no comms or any clue what they're doing that round. Before I get into the final nerf, I just wanted to say, for the past month, I've been working on a super in-depth Chamber guide that was literally more than 6,000 words. With the announcement of the new update, I've had to completely scrap everything I worked on. I'd greatly appreciate it if you guys checked out some of my other content or considered subscribing. It's not like I wasted a whole month for nothing, right? The final nerf to Chamber's kit is Tour de Force. The firing rate was cut in half and the slow duration is now smaller. Like the other nerf, this change gives the agent a higher skill cap and allows for the enemy team to more easily trade their teammates. If you're able to hit the shot, the fire rate won't matter as much. And if you miss, higher ranked players already instinctively pull out the headhunter anyways. At the end of the day, it's still a free operator that can single-handedly win eco rounds. In conclusion, I think these nerfs were healthy for both the agent and the game. Chamber now requires a lot more skill to play and isn't effective on every map. However, with this increased flexibility, the community will find lots of new setups and ways to play Chamber. Chamber's future is still bright in the right players' hands. If you have been struggling getting out of your rank, check out this video where I break down the most important things you need to know to rank up.